Get ready for a life-changing timeout on the program, The Happiest People. Brought to you by the Full Gospel Business Men's Fellowship International, Men of Honor.
I'm your host, Segun Falope.
Welcome. On the program, you'll get to listen to the stories of men and women saved by God to live better, more fulfilling and happier lives. Full Gospel Business Men's Fellowship International is one of the largest Christian business organizations in the world. Founded by Demon Shakarian, it's situated in 142 nations where meetings are held in 7,000 chapters. Our members and leaders are from every race, culture, social status, and language. Our mandate from God is to break the chains of bondage in the world, to destroy the isolation of loneliness, and link the world to God. It's our destiny to lift up Christ in every business center, every marketplace, every government center, every university, every nation, city, town, and crossroads of the world.
The happiest people on earth, men influenced by God to change for good, one life at a time.
Let's now listen as someone shares a personal story about the wonderful thing the Lord's done.
I am Yemisi Obilade. I am a professor at the Obafemi Awolowo University. I am married to Professor Titilola Obilade. And except for the first few years of our married life when we were finding our feet as a married couple, he has consistently won the Husband of the Year award. I was born 53 years ago to a nominal Christian family at Ileogbo in Ayedire local government. My family started off as a monogamous family. In the search for a male child, it became a polygamous family. And the serpent entered the Garden of Eden and trouble started. I remember that on one of the days when my sister and I came for holidays, we were in boarding house. My immediate junior sister and I were in a boarding school in the primary school. I was in primary 5 and she was in primary 3. And the holidays at that time, the third time used to fall between December and about the first week in January. Just about 3 weeks holiday and we came home. At that time, my mother had 5 children, 4 girls, and the baby who was a boy. And within the 3 weeks period that we were home for holidays, the 3 younger ones died. I remember the day in the early morning around 4 a.m. when the young brother that we had died. I was sleeping next to my sister and I woke her up when the cries started. And I wrapped her in the cover cloth and I wrapped myself in the cover cloth. The women were wailing and I took her hand. I had an uncle that lived in Iwo, about 5 kilometers away. I just knew that I had to take her away from the house of death. And so we walked through the bush, 5 kilometers alone. And we walked to Iwo. When we got to Iwo, my uncle was living in the upstairs in a balcony. He was brushing his teeth, ready to go to work. And he looked down. He thought he was seeing spirits. We were so young. And I took my sister inside. And I explained to her, I never went back to my father's house until 24 years later. From that moment, my life was ruled by fear. Fear of death, fear of witches, fear of wizards, fear of poison. Every time, fear. I tried to suppress the fear. I went to university. I tried to behave as if everything was normal. But I was anxious about everything. I had to see prophets if I wanted to sneeze, so that they would tell me it was safe to sneeze. If I wanted to travel and they said the road was not opened, I would not travel. I knew I couldn't go on like this. I got married in 1982 to my husband. I tried to put up a face as if the fear was gone. But I was afraid of sleeping in the dark. And I was a mother. Something deep in me called to God, because I knew that there had to be a divine intervention. I was in the bedroom one day in 1991, and it was February 1991, and the television was on. And suddenly there was a program. I had never watched the program before. I didn't consciously tune the television to that program. It was just on, and there was a THP, the program. And somebody shared just a short testimony. And at the end of it all, the person who was intervening now said, if you want to give your life to Jesus, this is the opportunity. He can take away your fears. He can take away your burdens. He can give you a new life. He can set you free. And boy, oh boy, I needed freedom. So I gave my life. Very simple prayer. I knew there was a difference in my life. The burden, the oppressive fear, the footsteps I used to hear, I didn't hear them again. I could sleep at night. I could sleep without the fear that I would not wake up the next morning. And I started to dream. I would see people singing, lifting up hands and dancing, and I would find myself in their midst. But you remember, I didn't know the first thing about fellowship. I had never heard anything about the full gospel except for that program. I didn't know where they met. I didn't know nothing about them. And then I went to God, the faith of a little child. I said, if you are leading me to this place, Lord, you know the way I have grown up. You are going to have to lead me to that place. And I said, Lord, once you are at it, I saw myself alone in that dream. My husband has to be there. You know I love him very much, and you say that you will save me and my household. So I started praying. And then we had new neighbors, and they came and they invited us. At that time we were rationalizing. If we go, these people will want us to be going every day, and so on. Somebody again invited us, and we went. It was a breakfast outreach at the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International, Ile-Ife main chapter. And we rededicated our lives to Jesus. After I met the Lord, things turned around in my life. I was no longer a slave to fear. I became as bold as a lion. I didn't fear anybody. I just knew that as long as I kept my ways right with God, He will go before me. He will make every crooked path straight. And I saw my God as a bulldozer. He will bulldoze everything. God has been wonderful in my life. He has been faithful. He has fought battles for me even before I knew there were battles. In my profession, God has indeed been faithful. I will give you some examples. There was a time when I was to be promoted in my place of work, and I happened to be somebody who feared only God, not man. So I didn't compromise. I never compromised the principles of God. If God says this is it, then it is this. I didn't know how to call white black. I didn't know shades of gray. It was either white or black. And for that I got into trouble with principalities and powers. People who had at that time temporal powers. And so the word was out that they should sit on my promotion. For those of us who work in the university, I was a lecturer one that time. And that was really not very senior in academia. And these were professors who had power at that time. And people will come to me, what is wrong with you? Are you the only one who will be a Christian? Are you the first person who will be born again? Go and beg. If you beg now, they say to Batira Baba, they will promote you. Just go and get your promotion. And I told them, I said, where I come from, we do not eat rotten meat in my father's house. That my father is the owner of all promotion. That's the fellowship I go to, because that is where I drink from the living water, the full gospel. The promotion cometh neither from the east nor from the west, but from the Lord God Almighty. That if I compromise, it is not a result of pride, but it means that I have put something in place of my God. I say, if God cannot do it, I don't want it. For years we were looking at each other eyeball to eyeball. There were a series of meetings about my promotion. I tell people, I said I almost set a track record. My promotion meetings, series of meetings took almost 4 months. They will adjourn. They will call for another meeting. There will be a deadlock. They will adjourn. On one of the last few working days in 1998, there was to be a final meeting to decide that promotion. I was to go to senior lecturer. I slept in the night, and God told me that this promotion will not go through tomorrow, but that it is so that his name will be glorified. And I had very simplistic faith in God. And I said, yes, Lord, I accept. That's why I accepted. And the meeting was done. I wasn't supposed to be seated there. In fact, it was after my own case that the rules were changed in my department, that you sit and listen to what people have to say. And so when I got there, truly the promotion did not go through. But I wasn't disturbed. In fact, I put on Uro and Buba and I tied my head gear. And I sang along the corridor. Ọmọ bàbá lèmi ṣe nípa ìgbàgbọ́ nínú Jésù. Ṣé bí bàbá mi ló nílẹ̀ o, kí máa rìn kí máa yan. And I remember the professor then looked at me and said, ọmọ yìí ti sọ́ra ẹ̀dí kùkùté mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́. That I had become a tree stump that could not be shaken. That was how big my God was. And a friend of mine who was at the meeting cried and was ill. And she said something. Mrs. O, you pray now, but you have a God. Why is he allowing this to happen? I went back home. I said, Lord, because of my friend who doesn't know you, you have to do something to show that indeed you are God. And it will draw her to you and she will serve you. I slept and God said, I will make my enemy a footstool for you. I had a lot of boldness and courage. And I saw one of the professors in Ezra and I said, this is the word of the Lord from me to you. He says he will make all of you a footstool for me. And I turned. Ladies and gentlemen, exactly 7 days later, I never applied for any appointment in Osun State. I didn't know there was a vacancy. God just told me to wait upon him on a Tuesday. I wait on God on Wednesdays. But Tuesday, God says, just wait on me. And I did. When it was time to pray, I said, Lord, you have to teach me what to pray about. You say I should wait. I have waited. So I woke my husband and we prayed. And the radio was on. And my children said, Mommy, somebody mentioned your name on the radio. And I said, Talomo Kololoyo. I am not owing anybody. I don't have any quarrel with anybody. I don't have a police case. It's not likely to be my name. And my friends were coming. Without application, without lobbying, without anything, I was announced and I was made a commissioner in Osun State. To the glory of God, God is faithful. To the glory of God, on the day of my swearing in, the principalities and powers were outside, waiting in the sun when I was being driven in. God is merciful. He made me a professor in his own good time. There is nothing God cannot do. When you drink from the living waters, he causes a turnaround in your life. And he raises you above the merry cloud. And you sit with kings and princes. And he subdues principalities and powers under your feet.
The happiest people on earth, men influenced by God to change